Alrighty guys, so this is a video that I honestly didn't think I was going to be doing for a little bit, but I honestly am not playing nearly as much as I used to be. Summer has started. I am out of school, so I'm no longer free of time because school takes up absolutely no time, as we all know. Working a lot, can't really get on the game like I was, and to be frank, I am a little bit tired of hiding away all the secrets that I used to keep because yes, I've done beginners videos and everything, but there was always some things that would take out of videos or some things I'd leave out because it was more so a competition thing for me. I didn't really want other people to know all these direct secrets to the game because it is kind of a competition in that sense, but I'm not playing. Why hold them any longer? So in this video, we're going to be going over some of my more advanced tips for the more advanced setups that a lot of people don't know that will actually really help them out a lot. And like I said, I put a lot of hours in this game already. I've been playing it for about 5 months, a little bit shy of 5 months, and we're almost at 1,000 hours on the game. We are just shy of it. There's a lot of AFK hours to be fair, but for the most part I do have a lot of run time and a shit ton of build time. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually a mistake that I see a lot of new players or kind of establishing players make. That's how they're positioning the rock truck. Now for this sense, we're going to be doing it in a top loading circumstance here. So if we were wanting to have our rock truck at the top here, filling up from this excavator, actually, let's see if we can get this tree out of here real quick. Can't believe that didn't take it down. There we go. So a lot of people I've seen, they'll just kind of jab them in to the side a little bit. Maybe they'll come in like this or so, like that. And, I mean, it works, but the best method of top loading a rock truck is not like that at all. Makes it a lot harder on the excavator operator. Show you guys right here how they should be set up. So we actually want to come in backwards. And what we want to do is put like a 3 to 4 foot gap between the sides of the vehicles. That way, when the excavator swivels, it can fill up the entire side of the rock truck. So the gap should be right around there. And for the stopping point of it, we're going to want to put about a quarter of the rock truck past the excavator. So now when we hop into this excavator here, when we go to put a bucket in here, this bucket is going to be able to reach anywhere on this. It's actually a little too close. I lied. It's a little close on that positioning. But I can get a bucket anywhere in here with ease. If I wanted to be a little bit quicker, I'd want the center of the truck moved out to about right here. So like I said, it's off by a little bit. As well, moving out the truck, it allows the excavator to swivel more. But you really should only be doing strips like this, so that way you can just easily scoop and then dump. You don't really need to be taking out nothing to one side of the machine. I don't like taking out material to the right because I like having my camera out to the right. So this way I can see everything my bucket is doing down there and how it's going through the dirt and where I need to take more from. Now, when you get to an end of a strip or something, you might have a hard time getting it to the side. So the best position for it then, if you cannot get it to the side while top loading, is actually directly behind the excavator. I used this a lot before. Probably see me do it a few times possibly. And for this, you can just put it pretty much right up to the back end of the machine. Just leave it off a little bit because it can get a full swivel out at that point. Since that's the furthest point it will be swiveling. You can just put it right there and it'll be great. Now, for drop loading, this is a lot more basic. You're just going to want the machine pretty much square to the wall. I'll put it in this way, so that way it's not facing the wrong direction. So you're pretty much going to want the machine square to the wall, obviously. But I actually like to give it about a foot of space between the wall. So that way it isn't too close to the excavator. So actually it's probably more than a foot. I like to have it right around here. This is like the perfect spot for me. I like to have half the machine, a little bit less than half the machine past the excavator with a good amount of space between the wall. That way this excavator will fill it up super duper quick and there will be no lack of efficiency in there. Now this is something that I've only recently done and I've been holding on to. This right here is my plant workshop area. This is where I come up with a lot of my new designs and concepts. So that way I can try them out before implementing them. And this is what I've been kind of withholding for a little while here. This is why I call it the 4-lane super compact. Now, this is a 4-lane input. Right here you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's actually this freaking small. I absolutely love this design. I wanted to implement it somewhere, but I didn't really have a mind or anywhere to put it. So I'm going to be showing you guys how this thing works. This is something that I didn't really want to do for a little bit because I don't really like my plant designs just being out there openly, but at this point, screw it. So how it works is I use a simple combined super stacker. So a super stacker is simply just a line of belts that are run material to a plant. This is a combined compact version that I came up with. I started running it on my underground mine. All it does is if you have 4 lanes like this, so if you have 2 dual big hoppers, you'll obviously have 4 lines. And to make it a lot smaller, if you just put the outside ones up one, and then you use opposite offsets, you can have a 2x2 stacker line. It actually looks really nice. I believe it's drone 3 for my underground. Yeah, so this is my underground mine. And I tested it right there at the beginning of the trommels, and then after the trommels too I used it. And it came out super duper nice. You can see how compact it makes everything, even though it's a 4-lane, it came out super duper nice. So that's how you compact everything to begin with, but what I had trouble with designing was the trommels because of how their outputs and everything are, and how to get power speed inputs onto everything. That was the tricky part because you have to have things going off things there. So how it works is you have a 1 gap between the 2 lines. So you up one, and then the second one, the top one, you up again, but not the bottom one. So that way this will create a 1 gap, and they'll clip a little bit, but it's still pretty cool looking. And so then out of the top one, not a lot of people know this, when with the new conveyors, if you run a line straight into another line, I actually have it, have to get a little bit closer. If you run one line that just jabs into another line, but it doesn't connect to the other line's end, it'll actually still put material in it, and that'll create a break in the power line of it all, which is very, very useful. I use it for the splitters a lot because the splitters are so awkward now. You can see that right here. Oh wait, nope, I lied. Not here. Other plant. Drone 1. Yes, on the yellow plant. On this plant, I split the outputs, and you can see on it right there. There we go. So the splitter, the sides of it just jam into a straight 1. There isn't a turn connected to it to reduce the width. This is really, really useful in building things, and I used it here with turns. So this is a right turn jabbed into the output of the trommel. That way you can put a power speed input on these backs and actually use them, because if they were turned into one another, you wouldn't really be able to. You could put a left turn out from the trommel, but then it creates its output coming here, and to save on space, it's just a lot better. And I like having breaks on the line. Some people don't, I do. And then for the bottom ones, I use the turn, so it does connect to the trommel. You could put a break in it if you wanted to. You probably would want to. I don't know what the grid load on this thing is. And this just drops onto a separate line, or you could run a conveyor down from it. And then the sluice, you just use the obvious offsets. But yeah, that's kind of how this works. And the output, you can play with it how you want. This was a bit tricky to come up with. I had the idea a little bit after the update, and I thought to myself, it won't work, it won't work, it won't work. Oh, well, this would work. Oh, no, it wouldn't. And I was like, finally, I'll just try it out. I tried it out, and it's actually really, really nice. Like I said, I wish I could have used it before, like if I had a mine running or something, but just don't anymore. And that makes for really nice design options for anything and everything between the super stacker, combining 4 lines into 2, and for something like this. So if you want a phase 2 processor, this is the best look that I've come up with. It's just a bit longer with a couple wings out from a coal screen. It's really nice, simple, looks pretty good, and you could stack this with 2 more on top of it as well. But that's my super secret 4-lane super compact plant that I really like the design of. It came out super duper nice looking, even unpainted. I mean, like I said, there's plenty of things that you could play around with on this design, putting more brakes in, putting less brakes in, to whatever you would want. But it's a super nice plant, and I really wish I would have been able to use it before putting the hat up. So this is another really, really, really good tip, showcase, whatever you want to call it. I actually found a way to balance out the lines to pretty much a 90% accuracy without losing any throughput. Um, it was pretty challenging. I kind of accidentally did it. I didn't do it really on purpose. At the time, I didn't think that the big dual hoppers really worked if you put them butt end to butt end, but they do, and I did that for that deposit pad. But for this one, I accidentally made a balancer out of it. So how it works is instead of having the big hoppers run this way, they run this way, and instead of two, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is, oops, big lag spike there. So there's 4 big hoppers turned parallel with a dump truck. Let me grab the dump truck and see its to width here. So this is to width of a regular, well not regular, but the max size rock truck. And this way, when it dumps, obviously there's going to be a little bit of inaccuracy. Like I said, it's like 10% accuracy of having it fully equal. So if that were to dump on there, there's going to be 2 things that make it not so equal. Whether it's heavily loaded to the one side, and if the truck isn't perfectly straight on with it. But even then, it pretty much will take care of that on its own if it's able to reach everything. So how it works is you have these 4 big dual outputs turned parallel with the truck, not perpendicular, parallel. And it's really, really simple. You just have one line from each hopper dump into another. So each of these dumps into a different one. You could balance it out more by making, instead of it staggered like this, where it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, can mix up the order, but so long as there is 2 outputs for each 4 belt lines. So we're taking 8 belts and putting it into 4. And the reason why you don't lose any throughput on this is because these are 5x speeds and these are 10x speeds. Because of the fact that you're dumping into twice as many 5x speeds and they're going into 10x speed, you don't lose any throughput at all with it. So it's a really, really good line balancer that I haven't seen anyone else make yet. Like I said, it doesn't lose any throughput, and it essentially is to 90% accuracy. Like I said, you're going to get little things here and there, but for the most part, you're not going to have any inaccuracies with it. And this is obviously an 8 to a 4 lane. You could downsize this if you wanted for smaller trucks, but this is probably the best way to make a line balancer right now without losing throughput. So this next tip is for really mega mines that need to process a lot of material. How I processed mass amounts of material as quickly as I could was obviously you can balance it out over 300 some odd smelters or whatever, but what I ended up doing was I'd actually make 5 full stacks in each ore smelter, and then, oops, I probably should have done this in this one. I make 5 stacks in the ore smelter, and it takes roughly 8 hours to finish that. And to make my small wash plants balanced with it, if you only do 2 full stacks in this small wash plant, it'll actually be the same amount of time as 5 stacks in the smelter. So if you just do 2 stacks in these, 5 stacks in these, it'll all be done in roughly 8-ish hours. We would just leave the game on overnight, no big deal. Now, in order to take things out and put things in super quick to save on time, I always tell people to try this trick. For whatever reason in the game, this is a thing. So if I were to open up the menu and you can see the mouse, I put generally in the middle of the screen, close out, look like 90 degrees to the left, reopen it, my mouse is moved to the left. If I look whoa, over here, my mouse is way down here. So in order to make it as easy as possible to go between these, go zoop, or will it be zoop, and then I don't look. Between machines, I do not look between them with the mouse, so it's always ending where I left it at, because if I were to go to here now, my mouse is over here, I gotta find it, go here, it's over there. And this is really helpful, especially when you're taking things out, so I can just control click, control click, control click, control click. That makes it super duper easy to fill and take everything out, and it really speeds the process up. So this next tip is a bit more of an obvious one. I still see some players that don't really do this. So this is how to blast bedrock without really causing anything to the ground or losing material. What you want to use is the RDX material, and to maximize the amount of material that you're going to be saving, you're going to want to free build it decently far away on the outside. We don't want it on it, so that way it doesn't lose material or mess anything up. Place it, blow it, and obviously a little bit came off from the wall there. But what I like to do as well is I will kind of draw it far out and free build, place it in the ground close to there, detonate it a little bit too far, reel it in a little bit, place it, bit of lag again, bit of lag there. So I placed it decently far, and you can see it didn't disturb the ground but still blast it. You can do this from up here too, so you don't lose material underneath if that's what you're worried about. A little bit too far away. There you go. That's a really easy way to blast bedrock without really messing a lot of things up. Do it again right here. I like to place it underneath where I'm mining at so I don't really go down. Boom, just like that. Kind of a 2-for-1 scenario thing. The first one is going to be build all of your production things to grid. I can't reiterate that enough. I used to never, and I started to, and it makes everything so much nicer because of the use of super stackers. So like I said, it's 2-for-1 super stackers and build everything to grid. As you can see from drone 2, our super stackers here are these deposit pads in the cut that run lines out to the plants. That's what we call a super stacker. This makes life easier with short hauls and not having to worry about taking it all the way to the plant. It doesn't look entirely pretty, but you can obviously clean them up as you go or whatnot, and it just makes life easier. You don't have to use them, but they are super duper handy. And by building everything to grid, it'll snap right to it, or at least be right on target with everything. Everything that you see here, except for the windmills, was built to grid. That way everything is nice and square and together with each other. And that way the super stacker lines up there, the pad lines up with that pad, that lines up with that pad, that lines up with that plant, if you're catching the drift. So this last tip is how I was solo operating. In the beginning, I would top load all my stuff, but in the end, I actually ended up drop loading, and it was really, really fast with it, actually. How I would operate is I'd operate 3 machines simultaneously, pretty much. As you can see, this cut is decently flat. It isn't super great, obviously, but I mean, it's drivable with an excavator, which is what matters. So how I would solo run is like this. I'd drive my route truck up to my drop loaded excavator. I'd position it like so. And then fill it up, go all the way to the deposit pad, use it, back up the excavator. I'd complete a full strip. And then behind the excavator, once I would do a full strip, I would move the rock truck out of the way, move the excavator down to the next one, and I would take all of this gunk out here. This is everything the excavator left behind. I would take all this out with the loader, and I'd just be like a maniac on the loader, running from the material directly into the deposit pad. This made for some really good numbers. I pulled them up here. So this is our chart for the mine. This is the underground mine for just straight loader. This is the mine that you just saw. So last week of running, I only ran it for 5 hours, and I was running at 5.4 million an hour. And the second week of running, I was running at 5.9 million an hour. And if I compare that to Buck Ridge, I did better than them on 33 hours of running. They only did 5.6. That's with multiple people helping them out. And solo, I was able to run at 5.4, right there with them. On average, this mine's done 4.7 an hour. And underground is just crazy efficient underground mining. I ran it for 11.5 hours, and I've done 7.4 million an hour. Absolutely insane numbers. Our last week of running was actually 419.5 million. That was with the combined force of Buck Ridge running like a maniac and the underground, plus a bit of here. So doing solo methods like this, where you're underground mining or you're triple running machines like this, it can be really, really efficient. And yeah, that's pretty much that for how to solo operate. So guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this advanced tip video. Like I said, it's kind of the secrets I've withheld from beginners and just some more advanced tips to the game. Like I said, I definitely won't be playing it as much. I just really cannot right now. There's just no time for me in it. It's kind of like the end of an era right now. I occasionally play or build or try and help out other people, but for the most part, it's kind of over with, unfortunately. So I don't know if the mining series will return, possibly in the fall or winter. Hopefully it will. I'd really like to see it start back up sometime, but I hope you guys enjoyed.